And joining us now, our good friend from the Fox Business Network, Stuart Varney. Hello, Stuart. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. I'm very well, and I hope you are too.
We're doing great. We're actually surviving the cold, and everything's good. Okay, now here's my question. There's a lot of discussion in Washington right now about whether we should extend unemployment benefits in this country, and you hear Democrats say, "Well, it's good for the economy." Now, you're a guy who studies the economy. Do you think that extending unemployment benefits is good for the economy?
No, sir, I do not. Absolutely not. No. What we need is to push people back into the workforce, to push them off the handout benefit system and get them back into productive employment. Now, that sounds harsh. It sounds like I'm blaming the unemployed for their situation. But studies show that as you get closer and closer to the cutoff point of benefits, people get out and look for a job. Now, that's what we need to have people do. And by the way, just as as I personally would like to see people get back into the workforce, we have news that the employment situation is improving. I just got a report from an outfit that studies layoffs. Layoffs in December were at a low for the past 13 years. That's very good news on the employment front. I think people should be encouraged to get out there, go look for a job.
Okay.
Because the benefits are going to be cut.
You know, now Sheila Jackson Lee, Democrat from Texas, and we also say God's gift to talk radio, was on the floor of the House yesterday, and she said something about welfare benefits. She says we shouldn't call them welfare benefits, that we should rename them. We should call them
a transitional living fund.
A transitional living fund. Yes, that's what we need. We don't need welfare. We need a
transitional living fund.
Any thoughts on that, Stuart?
Well, it's not a transition, is it? We've built a welfare system in the Obama years that traps people in welfare. And what we want is to encourage people to get off welfare. You don't do that by changing the name. You do that by reducing the generosity of benefits so that taking a job doesn't penalize you. I mean, look, right now, if you're unemployed and you're very, very low income, you can get food, heating assistance, rent, health care, education, cash, a cell phone. You've got a long list of things that you can get because you are in a welfare situation. If you take a job, you systematically lose those benefits. And a lot of people make the economic calculation, it ain't worth it.
Yeah.
Why, it's not worth it.
Stuart Varney, I think everyone can tell from your distinctive accent that you live in New Jersey. So I want to ask you, do you take the George Washington Bridge home by any chance?
I take it into work and I take it out of work.
So
yes, I do.
I think that this story that's involving your governor, Christie of the Garden State there, a fine suburb of New York, I think that you must be really concerned about the potential revelation that someone on the Christie staff purposely shut down lanes on the George Washington Bridge, causing nightmarish snarls in traffic as a political payback. What's your take on this?
My take is that I've seen the emails. They're splashed across the front page of the New York Times and I believe the Washington Post this morning, and those emails are very damning. They paint a picture of lower-level aides to the governor being vindictive, petty, and outright punitive towards the voters of New Jersey and the town of Fort Lee. That is flat-out wrong. Two of those people have subsequently stepped aside, and maybe more will come. The governor says he wasn't aware of this. He didn't know about this. Okay, he's in a political problem right now. It's a big political problem. But my question is it possible that the voters elsewhere in the country will want a tough guy, will want somebody who takes it out and beats up his enemies, as opposed to somebody who apologizes to our
Interesting
enemies?
You should say that. We had a conversation earlier about why so many people are walking away from the label Republican, and one of the people says because they're wimps. Maybe if you had a guy like Christie, they would come back to the Republican Party. Because I mean, one thing you can say about Christie when it comes to politics, he's no wimp.
No, he's a tough guy.
So what you're saying here, Stuart, is this is just the Jersey way.
No, I'm not saying that. Don't put me in a corner, Larry. Come on.
All right, let's go to the other big political story. That is that story about Chris Christie obviously is occupying the minds of everyone in New York. Down here in Washington, they're still talking about this book by Secretary of the Defense Bob Gates. And my understanding is that you have members of your family who are in the military. Given that, and you hear what the President and the Secretary of State were calculating politically with regard to the deployment of troops, how does that affect you?
I was very angry about it. I'm very upset about it. I do come from a military family. My older brother was killed as a Navy flyer in the service of his country, so I take these things personally and seriously. I'd be appalled if I was the parent of a youngster who had volunteered to go off and fight in Iraq and Afghanistan with Barack Obama as commander-in-chief. If he's playing and putting politics ahead of victory, and the Gates book suggests that that's exactly what he did, along with Hillary Clinton, I'm appalled at that, and I'm very angry about it. All those people who died and were maimed, they did it to make a political point. That's outrageous.
Yeah, and we know that the majority of the casualties in the Afghan campaign happened after that surge was committed to. But turning it onto Mr. Gates himself, I mean, considering the revelation that he felt that the commander-in-chief didn't really have, it wasn't really in this fight and didn't really believe in the commitment of troops, shouldn't he have revealed this then? And shouldn't he have spoken out then instead of waiting until after the re-election campaign and 1 year into his term?
Larry, I think you make a very good point. Why didn't he say something then? If this was so egregious, why not point it out at the time? And resign if you have to.
Yeah.
If your first interest is the welfare of the troops that you represent, essentially, as Defense Secretary, then resign if you feel that the Commander-in-Chief is not doing his job. Yeah, I'm with you all the way, Larry, on that one.
Our favorite Jersey boy, Stuart Varney.
Yeah, it's always my favorite time of the week when he comes on, but I don't think Stuart knows. He's on our show quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, we play your audio all the time, Stuart, when you're not even here. Sure, of course. Whenever Brian makes a brilliant point or I make a brilliant point, which is so often.
Yes, virtually every hour.
Then we make sure that everybody hears you when you praised us in the past and tell us how brilliant we are.
That's really cool. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
You're a regular feature on Mornings on the Mall.
Incredible.
You're not going to get paid anymore.
Oh, really?
No, there's no
I'm hanging
money.
up.
Thanks, Stuart.
Brian, you are so smart.
There you go.
Unbelievable. Larry, there are very few people who have been so consistently right as you.
There it is, Stuart.
Keep playing it, baby.